Okay, I see it all happening. Wow. Get used to it.
Okay, it should now be live on YouTube.
Okay, are we ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. So, hello everyone. I'm John Nelson. I'm the town councilor for Park Ward, and this is the council matters meeting on 23rd September. I have a little script I'm going to read to you, which will just set out how we're going to work. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Please bear with us if there are any technical issues. The minutes will be posted on our website as usual, so everything's there. So housekeeping, we've updated the rules on Zoom this evening to make more use of the blue hand, so listen carefully. Participants, all participants, you're all panelists now, by the way. All participants, counselors, staff, and those who are presenting, please make sure you're on mute unless you're invited to speak. If participants want to comment or ask a question, please use the electronic raise hand by clicking on the participants button at the bottom of your screen. I'll do my best to do this in turn because I've just been taught this as well. In the same way, I shall ask respondents to reply. So just use that blue hand as much as possible because it makes us easy to count responses, etc. Will all participants please not repeat a point made already? So if someone has said it, don't say it again necessarily, unless you have something else to contribute. Please ensure all discussion is through the chair, and I'm chairing this in Sarah's stead, who is the chairperson. I'm the deputy chair. If councilors wish to make amendments to existing recommendations, they need to propose that. And then another councilor would need to second that proposal before it went to vote. I may need to end the discussion and go to vote if time is short. If the meeting looks like it will exceed 90 minutes, I will call for a short break before continuing the meeting. But I'm going to aim to make this meeting last 90 minutes unless there's a huge amount. I'm going to try to keep us to time because we're all doing lots of things. Will councilors also please vote using the blue hand so that the vote can be recorded by Peter, our deputy town clerk. And if I could just add, after the count has been made, if everybody could make sure you put your hand down, because I don't know how to do that from here. We have, I think, two or three attendees registered today. Is that correct, Laura? We may have more. Please, can I ask attendees to pose questions through the Q&A board? Although that's what it says here on the guidance, and I think in this, if no one's opposed to that, we could do that just verbally because the attendants are here. I think if they are a panelist, they are on video. Is that correct, Laura? Okay, so if you are a panelist, you're on video. So if you don't want to be seen, just keep your video off, and that's fine. So your name will become visible on the question board. So it's going to be visible here, no matter what. If you're not comfortable with this and you want to just go offline, not be recognized for your questions, then you can go offline and send your questions to info@froomtowncouncil.gov.uk after the meeting. And then we'll ask Rachel for any moderated questions. So on the staff side, Peter is going to clerk this meeting. Laura will take the minutes and manage all the slides. Rachel and Sarah will manage the questions board and participant settings. So they're there behind us. And now we're live on YouTube. So we're gonna start with the agenda. I think I don't know if we want to put the agenda up, but the first point on the agenda is apologies for absence. I have Andy Ritmore. Do we have any other apologies? Okay, well, I haven't heard anything.
Obviously the chair, John, that you're standing in for. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I already gave that. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Okay, so Sarah and Andy, anything else? No?
Maxine will probably would want to send her apologies too.
Okay. Okay, so for me, I'm not quite clear exactly who's on which committee, and so if that, thank you very much. That's
Yeah.
Maxine, Sarah, and Andy. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So now we have declaration of counselors' interests. Do any counselors have any declaration of interest to make about tonight's agenda? No? I see no hands. I see no blue hands, so. And we need to approve the minutes now, so maybe the minutes could go up. We could run through those quickly, page by page. Is that possible to put those up?
It's coming.
Yeah, thank you. Technology. And it's the approval of the minutes from the last meeting on 15th of July, 2020. There we go. Excellent. Thank you very much, Laura. So there's the, we'll just run through this page by page. If anyone has any comments as they spot things as go by, just raise that, please. So just proceed down. Okay. Okay. So there we go. So I note for the minutes that the chair closed the meeting at 8:04. So that was a very quick meeting. I'll endeavor to be as good as that. Okay, so we want to approve those minutes. Would anyone like to nominate, or is it, what is it?
So propose.
Those minutes, propose to approve. Yeah, I've got Rich, and second I have Ann. So fantastic. So all in favor, hands up, raise your hand, and you can do it physically as well because it's nice to see you. And you have that, you're doing the count.
We have 7 hands up actually, which is a majority.
Oh, okay.
It's gone up to 8 as it happens.
Okay, great.
Just to clarify, I'm not voting because I'm not on the council, the town council, the
We
council
have
matters committee. So.
9. It's up to 9. So 9 is a majority.
Okay, great. So that's carried. Are you there? Are you there? Mark, were you counted? You're waving? Think so. Okay. So everybody, make sure you put your hand down. Unless it's gone down automatically. It looks like it's gone down automatically. Okay, great. So that's done. So that's agenda item 1 done. So agenda item 2 is questions and comments from the public and counselors. So let's start with the questions and comments from the public. We have several people who joined. This is the opportunity for the public to make comments, but also to raise questions. Do I have anyone? Please make sure I don't miss anyone if a hand goes up and I miss it. No? Okay, how about counselors? How about Frome counselors? Yes, I have Nick and, well, Nick so far. Go on, Nick.
Yeah, thank you, John. Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to raise a point, and it's really Chris Stringer, I think you can answer. I went through the old Showfield on Tuesday and saw a team of rangers doing a magnificent job getting the site ready for the COVID testing thing, which I think is a great thing for Frome. But I just want to ask, do the opportunity costs of the rangers work? Does that come back to us as a council, or is that something we just absorb because it's in Frome?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Chris, go ahead.
At this stage, we're not sure about the answer to that, actually. There's obviously lots and lots of organisations have got together to try and make this testing facility happen. I think various organisations are going to be probably absorbing some costs. We're certainly going to keep an eye on obviously how much time we spend, how involved we get, and the sort of costs that do come out of it. I think there is the potential that some of those could be claimed back from, I would suspect, central government. And if we get to the stage that we are spending lots and lots of time, resource and money on that particular project, given that it's not necessarily something that we've led on, yes, I think those will be questions that we'd ask and we try and seek for that to happen. But fencing it yesterday felt like absolutely the right thing for us to do in terms of managing the show field, and hopefully the testing centre is going to run smoothly and efficiently without us having to get too involved going forward.
Okay, thanks, Chris. I have Rachel. Yes, please.
I just wanted to add to that actually we had, in order to secure the site in an opening and a closing way, we have today committed to employing an event support steward who we hope will also be supported with volunteers. So that's to make sure that when the testing unit arrives, that everything's clear of cars, and so that they can just get on with their jobs. There were 1 or 2 hiccups this morning. We're hoping tomorrow's going to be smoother, but we've established that every day will be a different unit. So every day somebody will be learning new procedures. So for that reason, we've decided to put Helen Johnston in place, and she will support for an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening, just opening up, clearing the car park and closing up. That also means that we can be really assured that the gates have been properly secured at the end of the day.
Okay, great. Thank you. I had a note here to, I think Drew Gardner is here as an attendee and a panelist, that there was had some questions. This is the opportunity for you to ask questions here in this meeting, Drew, if you're there. But I just want to make sure that you had a chance, because this is the time.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed for that, John. It's 2 sort of really quite big points, actually. I'll do them in the order that that I was asked.
Okay.
Firstly, I've been approached by a number of people, a number of traders from the centre of Frome who would like us to explore the possibility of keeping the road closed in some form or another, be it through restricted traffic or rising bollards or public transport only, or possibly closed on a Saturday. People are they're asking questions about that. I know some people are opposed to this quite vehemently, and that's entirely understandable. But I'd like to ask the council, if we could, is it worth us consulting people to see what we want to happen? Because I think it's quite obvious that, you know, it looks like we may be going into another more serious situation with COVID. And would it make sense to consult people to see what they want? So that's the first thing. The second point is, following the 2 most recent knife attacks, I've been approached by multiple traders on Cheap Street who are very unhappy with the state of affairs there at the moment. I've seen a fight over the pitch for the people who would like to beg there. I've seen people fighting over it. My daughter witnessed drug dealing there yesterday, and another trader witnessed an event where they were discussing how to get certain chemicals to make crack. Now, the traders feel that this is affecting their business. I know a dispersal order has been put in place, but their feelings are that it's actually quite ineffectual. Not a lot is happening. And as a result, you all have seen the email that I sent out yesterday, because I think lots of people are quite curious about certain aspects of, they want to understand what's happening with law enforcement in the town vis-a-vis the stabbings, and they're seeking some reassurance on that. And they're also seeking some real and concrete action over the begging type diaspora, whom are impacting quite significantly on daily life in Cheap Street, and they feel that nothing much is being done about that. I've spoken to 4 traders, and all of them are very upset about it. So I think it's a wider point, and I think it's something that basically I'm seeking support on, and I think we need to do something about this for the people of Frome, at least to understand from the police what is and isn't happening. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Drew. Peter?
I just wondered if I could respond to the first question, Drew. We have just issued a press release which has indicated that we're working towards the reopening of the marketplace on the 2nd of October. The question that has arisen, of course, is what do we do with the existing closures in Palmer Street and King Street when we do reopen the marketplace? We've had the discussion with the Highway Authority about this, and one of the things that's going to be very challenging for us is to continue to enforce an ongoing closure of Palmer Street and King Street once the marketplace reopens, and that's largely down to the volume of traffic that's going to be coming back into the marketplace when that reopening happens. So at the moment, the proposal is to reopen both King Street and Palmer Street when marketplace reopens. I appreciate, because we have actually had an approach from one trader in Palmer Street that they do have an interest in the idea of pedestrianisation, more effective pedestrianisation in the future. So I'm aware of the interest, but I think in the short term, there is a difficulty in terms of enforcing an ongoing closure once the marketplace is reopened. So I think that's something for councillors to bear in mind. If I might venture to respond to the other question, my understanding is that Kate Hellard has a meeting coming up in the near future, which is a multi-agency meeting to discuss the issue of these very unfortunate stabbings. And I would imagine that would be a good forum in which to address the issue and to see if a solution can be arrived at to discuss, what can be done in the town about that one. So I offer those as responses to your questions, Drew.
Does anybody?
If I may, sorry.
But could I also respond? No one else has raised their hand, so I'm calling on myself. No, just for me, on your first point, Drew, I think it is good to consult, particularly something like that, because that's an idea. Because of course we do close that marketplace off for markets, but unfortunately at the moment we don't have the control over that in the same way because we don't have market rights. But then we also have always had to get permission elsewhere to actually do that, and there are costs involved with that. So doing it on a temporary basis, why shouldn't we, as a town, have control of that and to do that if we want to? So I think that's something that we should discuss longer term in terms of the discussion. But what Peter says is totally accurate. We just, we don't have the power to close it off. But I think that what you've suggested is a good thing, doing some consultations around that, because I think this is, as the thing goes into operation, there's going to be a lot of discussion around that. So I just want to say that, but go ahead. You were going to come back. Thank you. Drew.
Yeah, I suppose that's kind of where I'm at the moment. And I think it just strikes me that we live in a world where we want to make people's health better. We want to make Frome a better place for people to visit. and for people to live. And we want to make it so people can cross the road safely from Stony Street off towards Cheap Street. These are material advantages to the town, and to make it a very nice environment. I really like it if we could consider consulting the traders and the public closely on this matter, because I think we do have an opportunity here. I would also like to point out that at the moment, County Council are open. They're very open to requests as we speak to material changes. This window will not be open forever. It's based around coronavirus, and I think it would be great to give people the opportunity to speak up about what sort of town they want to live in the future. Maybe they want to keep the status quo. Maybe they want to change it. Maybe they don't want to have filthy diesel fumes in their face. We'll see, but I think consultation is of prime importance. Thank you.
Anybody else have comments? Yes, Anita, please.
I think Rob was
John, I don't know if
before
you
me,
can
John. He's
see
ready
me,
to
Sorry.
answer.
I beg your pardon. Rob, go for it, Rob.
Yeah, I just don't know whether you can actually see me because I had my hand up for about 5 minutes now. So
I beg your pardon. Sorry, I didn't see it.
that's all right. I just wanted to ask Drew if he could clarify just what his proposal is that we should consult the town over. Is it pedestrianisation in perpetuity, or is it a temporary measure that he has more in mind?
I have all sorts of things in my mind, but what I'm really trying to do is reflect people who have approached me. Some people have said they really want it closed permanently. Some people have said they want it open permanently, and the parking restoring at Boyle Cross. There's a whole gamut of opinions here, and I think it would be very interesting for councillors to sit down and to put some options to the people. Would you like to see a rising bollard scheme where you have buses coming through? Would you like it completely closed? Would you like it completely open? Just to formulate options and just to see what people say. Personally, I would like to see it closed, but I believe more strongly in consultation and democracy. And I want to live in a town where people have chairs on the bridge and not 38 tonners, you know, or whatever, or 20 tonners, or filthy diesel engines. You know, we've got a great opportunity here. We can have great cafes, lots of employment for people. Things can happen here. We have a beautiful opportunity. Let's seize it with both hands and make a difference to this town, which will last for generations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Drew. Any other comments on this response? Sheila?
Thank you, John. I personally would love to see maybe half road closures and a sort of limited ability to go through the town. And Katie Jones has put something up on the chat box saying that apparently in Chippenham they have a sort of hybrid model where occasionally it is you know, the centre of town is pedestrianised. So I think that would be worth looking at. My only other comment is I know that people who live along Portway and down towards the station, they certainly want the town, so they're desperate for the town centre to be open. You can't cross the road easily down that way. Getting from one side of the road over to the station takes a hell of a long time, and to get a car out onto that road takes an awfully long time. It's another example of piecemealing doing something will have an impact on the whole town. And again, we've got a medieval town that needs a transport assessment that doesn't just do one area. It needs to look at it in a bit more over sort of holistic way. And it's a nice idea. And I think it's a great idea for certain areas, certainly King Street, which has the tiniest pavements, and being able to keep your distance down King Street is ridiculous. But it does need a bit more of a holistic look.
I think Anita has
Okay,
her
thanks,
hand up as
Sheila.
well, John.
Any other comments? Rob? Anita, your hand is up. I see that now. Go on.
Thanks. Only quickly to add that, just like the Woolbridge area where traffic is very difficult, I think Rodden Road people as well would find it exceptionally difficult if we maintained road closure. Much as I'd love to see a pedestrianised town, I think, as Sheila says, we have to remember that we are built into a valley, very tricky to direct the traffic around without congesting an awful lot of other roads, which is going to cause the problem.
Okay, thank you.
John Clark's had his hand up for a while.
John Clark has his hand up. Yeah, John, just one moment, just because I'm going to move on to other councillors besides Frome Town councillors. If there's no other comments from Frome Town councillors, I just have one comment, and it's actually responding to some members of the public who've been asking me. A couple of members of the public have approached me about this question. And it's just to explain that there are a set of financial rules guiding Frome Town's how payments, etc., and all that stuff is handled. And there was some confusion about how things were happening. So I've had to clarify this twice to different people. And it's covering things like the grants and also tenders and contracts and things like that. So I'm just putting on record that there are a set of financial rules, and it's just a sort of reminder that we all need to really follow those. So now, John Clark, you're up.
Thank you, John. Sorry, I don't have a blue hand on my bar, so I can't put my hand up. Can I speak? Well, firstly, just a comment that Drew made about the incidents that have happened. I think there's been a response to his emails have been, one proposal is that we use the 3 tiers meeting of all the tier councillors and invite prominent police representatives. So I don't know whether that's something that could be used as a forum to have those discussions, which I think would be perfectly valid to do, really. Secondly, can I make a comment in terms of a member of the public, in a sense, not as a county councillor, but as chair of the Broadway Allotment and Community Garden Association? So as people may be aware, I'm sure they are, Frome Town Council has agreed some time ago to approach with us, Mendip District Council, to transfer the land to Frome Town Council. And we are putting a proposal with the Town Council around creating an open green space, community gardens, orchard, and a special place for people, and also protecting the wildlife and ecology that we know is there, including badgers, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to update the council members who are present this evening in that Mendip District Council, as part of their policy, which I applaud, are now looking at a number of sites in Frome for social housing. And Broadway, former Broadway allotment site, is one of those sites that are actively looking to build social housing. We are of the view that this is not a site for social housing for a number of reasons, which I won't go into, but I have alluded to. And I would refer people to the David Attenborough programme about extinction. You can't compare the Broadway site to that, but you can compare it in terms of the ecology that's there, and we need to protect our green fields. This is the last green space, undeveloped space in Frome, which we need to try and protect for a number of reasons. So I'm just wanting to announce that tomorrow evening we have a public meeting, and if people go to our web page and Facebook page, which are called exactly what we are called, i.e. Broadway blah blah blah, I welcome members of the council to come along and discuss with us how we can move on with our campaign to save this piece of land for the benefit of all the people in Frome. So, and if there's anything that town councillors wish to do to support our campaign, please contact me, and I'd welcome any support from yourselves to make this happen. So that's the first thing. As a county councillor, I think, yes, as county councillor, I just wanted to promote the fact that from the end of October, we will be implementing the Somerset Waste Partnership will be implementing the Recycle More scheme, and people are currently receiving sort of leaflets like this, which tell people what we're doing. This is really exciting because from the end of October, there will be, you can recycle all your plastics and Tetra and other matters. although the waste collections will be every 3 weeks, but we know that if you reduce your food waste, that has benefits for all and the environment. And also if you recycle more, then that has benefits as well. Although I would suggest we don't use so much plastic, but I won't go there. I think that was it. There may be something else I might have to come back to, but I think I've got a comment on about one of the papers. So I think I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, John.
Just a quick question, a point of information for you, John. Is there the meeting you're mentioning? Is it virtual as well?
Yeah, it's a Zoom meeting. We are looking at other forms of meeting. So we're having meetings of 6. We're taking up marketing floor.
Fabulous. Any other comments from the councillors or public? I think not. I see no blue hands. I'm checking very carefully. I won't do what I did to Rob. Okay, so let's go on to item 3 on the agenda. Frome Town Council's financial position at the end of August. And this is for approval ultimately. And I was told that Hannah is presenting that.
Hello.
Hiya.
Okay, so I'm Hannah Panisha and I'm the Assistant Finance Officer. Hopefully you've all had a chance to read the report financial update up to the 31st of August. The income highlight was £11,923, and this is from the Lotto Fund for COVID-19 Neighbourhood Network Support Grants. Our expenditure highlight was 2 amounts totaling £79,595.58, and this was paid to Alan Griffiths, the contractors for the Marketplace Phase 2 works from the 22nd of June to the 31st of July. We also paid Bosky Trees £2,515 for tree risk assessments on Frome Town Council land. Are there any questions on the income expenditure sheet or payments over 500? Nope. Okay, so the next part of the balance sheet is the balance sheet, sorry. And this shows our assets, which is the bank accounts, the investments and the money owed to us. So it's in £1,315,803. The liabilities at the end of August are £4,799. This is money that we owed. And our total net assets, which is the assets minus liabilities, is £1,311,004. The total net assets equal our reserves, which are broken down in general reserves, which are £509,787, and our earmarked reserves of £801,217. Are there any questions on the balance sheet? No? Okay. So a request has been submitted to Mendip District Council for £70,000. This is for a contribution towards the emergency funding, which we're yet to hear back from. Additional costs have since been identified by the pandemic recovery panels. This means the planned work programme for 2020-21 has been reviewed, trying to incorporate emergency and recovery tasks. As we're yet to hear back from Mendip District Council, we are not currently in a position to accurately reforecast the financial year position for the year end March 2021. Apologies, the report said 2020. Sarah will be reporting to councillors in a closed session in the near future with suggestions for the work programme and budget revisions, as well as also beginning to plan for the budget for the next financial year 2021-2022. Any proposals for changes will be tabled at the council meeting in November. Frome Town Council remain financially sound with adequate funds and assets. However, if we do not receive the government support via Mendip District Council, we'll have to reduce expenditure in the second half of the year and or dip into general reserves to balance the budget at year end. We need to be very careful with spending in the coming months. Since publishing the report, the internal audit took place remotely on the 17th of September. The internal auditors are happy with the accounting process we have in place for the period 1st of April to 31st of August, and there are no areas of concern. The auditor reports will be tabled for ratification at the next council matters meeting. The responsible finance officer protocol document has been reviewed, and it is recommended that there are no amendments made for this year. Are there any other questions?
Does anybody have any questions? I have one question.
Did I raise a comment?
Rich first, and then Rich, and then Anne. Rich, and then
Thanks,
Anne.
John. Just a
Then I
quick.
think, Sarah, did you have your hand up?
Just to say, the auditor's happiness is down to Hannah's bookkeeping, which has been exemplary, especially during lockdown. Thank you, Hannah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you,
Go
Hannah,
on, Rich.
for all of that. Well presented, and it's interesting. I just wonder if we've got any update on the money that we're claiming from Mendip, or we are still waiting, presumably, for an answer.
Yeah,
John Clark, looks like John Clark would like to say something.
Okay. So
I can respond to that if I
respond to
may.
that first. Okay, go ahead.
Is that me? Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. John Clark, please respond
Just
to that.
responding to Rich's comment. I spoke to the chief finance officer for county, and he told me about the monies that have been transferred to Mendip District Council, which I think they amount to 1.382 million for COVID related matters. So Mendip have had quite substantial amount of monies through central government via the county, although I suspect the monies they spent may well equate to that figure as well to some extent. I then spoke to the finance officer for Mendip and asked him about the possibility of monies being given to parishes and town councils to support their efforts in COVID, addressing COVID. Initially, he said he was looking at the figures, as it were, and now he's come back yesterday, or maybe today, I can't remember which, saying that he's now done his sort of assessment and it's going to be presented to a board of members, and he hopes to have an answer in 2 weeks. So I suggest, Peter, chase him in a couple of weeks, and I'm happy if you quote me to say that this is what I've been told. So I don't want to comment as to the likelihood of monies being transferred across. I'd raised this a couple of times at Mendip with people, and I didn't get a very positive response because they're saying they have incurred significant costs associated with COVID. However, I understand that the Secretary of State has said that some of the money should go to lower tier councils, but the monies may not be there because the costs have been quite substantial. And I hope the town council, in their deliberations about this, do not have to resort to reducing their services or some of their projects. And I do note that the general reserve position of Frome Town Council is particularly healthy. And I know, and it's above the government limits that are set, I understand. And I know some of that reserve has been earmarked already, but however, this is what reserves are for in emergency situations. And I suggest this is an emergency situation. And as far as possible, I hope Frome Town Council will protect their projects and their grants that they give to all the town community organisations. Thank you.
Thanks, John, for that. That's very interesting. I think it is important that we keep asking.
Yeah, great, thanks. I have Steve and then Anne. Steve, did you have a question? Your hand? Oh, your hand's gone down. Okay, no, Anne, go.
My question was the same as Rich's. It was really about Mendip's backfilling of our COVID-19 and more importantly, when we were likely to know. So that's helpful. Thank you. I've got that now.
Okay. Any other response? I mean, my only question, I guess it's a question, Sarah, because as you said in the last bit of that report, Hannah, we need to sort of make some decisions. We're coming up to decision point in November when we want to maybe.
John, you've gone very quiet, or is it me?
Have I gone quiet?
Yes.
Yes, you have, John.
Yeah, shout.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
It's still quite muted.
Really?
Be quiet.
Weird.
Not a bad thing.
Okay. Can you hear me when I talk like this?
Yes.
Okay. So no, it was a request really because we're going to have to make a decision in November about maybe some reallocations we're going to have a deficit of the 70K, but also we want to identify new funds to make sure we can pay for Marketplace. But really it's a little opaque looking at the budget for me just quickly. I wonder if we could have it presented a bit by how percentage spend this. We're only halfway through the year, so we could do a percentage spend by line. A lot of it's fixed costs, but a lot of it is there is some discretion within some of it, maybe a third or something, through the grants committee, through different projects. If that could be clear where we were on those, then that might help us make a decision more rapidly, because November will come suddenly, and we want to make sure we can make a good decision. That was just a request from me.
Yep, that's absolutely in the planning, and it was going to be in a couple of days, but it's been postponed, and I think Peter and Paul will be able to report a bit more on that.
Okay, fine. So hopefully my sound comes back. We need to approve these. We need to approve these accounts at this stage. So, can someone propose to approve? I have Andy Palmer, who's going to also put up his blue hand, aren't you, Andy? And second by Ann Hills. And then everybody who approves these accounts, put your hand up by raising your blue hand, but also do it physically, just because we're humans. Okay. Great. Have you got your count?
So we have at the moment a total of 9, which as far as I'm concerned is a majority.
Okay, that's fine.
Peter, is it worth asking if anybody abstains or?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, normally we record any abstentions or any against, John.
I beg your pardon. That's all my fault. So those opposed, raise your hand or forever hold your peace. Anyone who wants to abstain, we just want to record your abstention by raising your blue hand quietly, or raise your hand. No abstentions.
Absolutely. So that's passed by a majority.
Okay, fine. So now we'll swiftly move on to, we are at 8:40, so no, 7:40 rather. So we're not going to meet the 8 o'clock deadline. Item 4 on the agenda, update on the project to refurbish Victoria Park toilets, and that will be Chris. And I think you have a slide or something.
Oh, I don't know. I'm happy to talk about it first, and then I'll talk about it if that's okay. I think the only slide we've got was possibly a photo. So just to quickly introduce the report, it is an update which suggests kind of somewhat inevitably this project has been delayed a little bit by pandemic and lockdown. At the start of the lockdown, we closed the toilets when everything was at its most uncertain, and they seemed to be a risk above everything else. During lockdown, we have managed to get to a place that we are happy with the toilets being reopened and that they've been safely and sensibly managed. That's included actually a change in how they are cleaned and checked on a day-to-day basis, which is now being taken on by our cleaning team rather than our rangers, freeing up our rangers to go out and do other things. We are in discussions with 3 companies who specialise in the provision and design of public toilets. 2 of them are relatively local, actually, and as I said, those discussions had been halted a little. We were hoping and planning to come back to this meeting with a little bit more, but those will progress, and as soon as we've got some costed designs to come back to councils, to a council matters meeting with, we will be doing that. I suppose the other notable part of the report is that we are looking to bring in-house the weekend and bank holiday cleaning of the toilets as well, both now and in the future. And that's something we're going to look at in conjunction with some additional cleaning support at the town hall, which as that gets busier and busier means more and more weekend and evening stuff happening as well. So I think that covers the report. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Does anyone have any questions on that update? I have Anne and Sheila. Anne first, then Sheila.
Mine wasn't really a question. It was just, Chris, I was interested to note that you're reducing or removing the need to touch surfaces. So I think for all sorts of hygiene reasons, that's great. But certainly in COVID-19 and in a pandemic, that seems like a very good move.
Okay, thanks. Sheila?
Thank you. It was just the earmark reserve of 38,000, because my memory is that the cost of cleaning this place used to be 22,000, and there used to be a sort of, you know, the ballpark figure was, okay, if it's costing us 22,000 to clean it, why don't we spend 22,000 to refurbish it, get it working better? And I wondered when it had jumped to 38 and where that money had come from.
I think, and Sarah may correct me on this, the 38, we've aggregated some savings over the last couple of years, and that is where we're going to find the money to refurbish. We have changed how we look after the toilets over the last few years, and one of the things that we've been able to do actually by bringing it in-house is make some savings on the costs that they do cost to do things like cleaning. That doesn't change the fact that I think we'd probably all agree that they are in need of some refurbishment and some improvement, which is obviously the project that we're now looking at. But I think going forward, the costs, having brought the work in-house, although we're losing another opportunity elsewhere, it's made an awful lot of sense going forward. But yes, the 38 isn't a single year's costs of anything, Sheila. It's that we've made some savings over the last couple of years and put that towards it.
Okay.
Okay, Rich?
Yeah, I think also, Sheila, that was based on us borrowing a lot of money to do the all singing, all dancing cafe and toilets and whatever else it was going to be, if you remember. So I think we've reduced that outlay considerably. So that might well be that it's more of a one-off figure, as Chris has just alluded to, rather than something that we've got to keep repeatedly paying out year after year.
Right. So the payout, repeated payout, if we didn't do anything, is still around 22,000. Is that right, Sarah?
No, we have reduced the budget for maintenance. The maintenance in a figure in the revenue budget is currently 15,000, and that's for cleaning and refurbishment. The earmarked reserve of 38, and I think it's gone up to 40 something. It primarily came from Chantry House. Remember the sale of Chantry House?
Oh, right.
We gained 70,000, and half of it was spent on Victoria Park resurfacing, and the other half was stored for the toilets refurbishment.
And that toilet refurbishment, as the report says, is also includes knocking down the building that's sort of halfway along faces into Mary Bailey Fields. Yeah.
I think treated as a separate project. That might come up for a separate discussion, possibly.
All right. Okay. I'm just trying to clarify what's actually going to get done with the 38,000. So maybe Chris can explain that when we get to that particular point.
Go on, Chris. Last point.
I was going to say I would fully expect most of that sum will go on refurbishing the existing toilet block. Other opportunities in the park that are talked about in the report would almost certainly have to be other bits of the puzzle and be funded in different ways. But again, some of that would come from our maintenance budgets for the parks generally, if we can plan it in a sensible fashion, as we would try to.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Any other new comments? Nothing? I thank you very much for that, Chris. And now we're on to item 5. It's going to be an update on the work of the communications and marketing team from Rachel, I believe. Is that correct? You're still not hearing me.
No, there we are. I can hear you.
Okay. Are you generally hearing me or not? Please tell me.
We can hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay. Lucky you.
So last time we reported, which was in July, we have continued in communications and marketing to focus on the COVID emergency response, but we've also had time to look at the wealth of other things that have been going on. We've been highlighting the marketplace, of course, school streets, Cycle September, all things biodiversity, and of course COVID testing just recently. One of the ways that we obviously support that is through our website. Our homepage has largely now returned to normal, with a focus on between 6 and 10 news releases a fortnight, and the area that we'd committed to the COVID response has now been concertinas, so that's quite good. We normally get a slump in traffic to the site during the school holidays, but because nobody's been away, we haven't really looked at that. Our main focus on the website has been improving the accessibility following the audit. This has involved restructuring and remodeling, changes in architecture, and of course the hope is to make it much more accessible. We are now in the phase of, we have written the site map, and so it won't be too long now before you will see a new and improved accessible website. We expect that to happen in the next 6 weeks.
Sorry, Rachel, we can hardly hear you. Can you yell, please?
I can, yeah. So yes, we expect this to happen in the next 6 months, 6 weeks. This will involve learning new skills. We're going to be using a different operating system. This training will then roll out to the whole staff in the coming months. Discover Frome has also largely returned to normal. The contact there has been focusing on what local businesses have been doing, because we haven't had the events to focus on. And now we're primarily getting ready for Fiverfest. So that is a good focus and a good replacement for the more traditional events. We've been doing all sorts of things around Wild About Frome and nature activities, and they've been so popular across our social media feeds that actually we hope to continue to do that and to support people on good ideas of things to do in the winter months, particularly whilst they're going to be locked down and just with their families again. What else has happened? The information point has reopened, so that's been really good with our hardy group of volunteers. We've just had 4 of them a week, 1 a day. We've opened sort of slowly over 4 days. We've been supported by our summer placement, Poppy, who has actually now just finished, but she's done sterling work in supporting them, Poppy being a young'un, and most of our volunteers being over 70. So that has been a good it's been really good to sort of refocus that, get them back into the information point. We are continuing though to keep in touch with the rest of the volunteers through a fortnightly Zoom. We have also brought back our notice board ambassadors, so they have now moved to coming to collect their posters once a week. We're also looking to be supported by open storytellers there as well, and hopefully they will be able to fill in any gaps, because we still have a few ambassadors who aren't able to currently support us. Work on events, that's been quite a different animal recently. We're looking to live stream Remembrance Day service and Christmas light switch on. As I said, we started work on Fiverfest, but we are helping now to deliver Halloween Wonderland. That's going to be an event that's going to be over Halloween weekend, not just the Saturday, but also the Sunday too. And so we are, and we're also supporting neighbourhood networks there. So we'll be sharing out some resources and helping people through half term with our children and young people's officers to just help people get involved. We want to spread it out as much as we possibly can. We're continuing to try and liaise with the arts and venues spaces to find out what's going on and to support all the work that they do. And otherwise it's business as usual, writing, collating newsletters, updates, articles. We've got a few new newsletters going out, a new volunteers newsletter and a new neighbourhood networks newsletter. So if anybody's interested, we will send out the sign-ups and you can all sign up to those, as well as the business updates that are now quite well established, and the community groups newsletters. So we've been pretty busy. Our thoughts now really are turning to new COVID responses. We've been working with Public Health England and other partners on looking at how we can really support local messaging. So that is, you know, good and important. And of course, we've been just trying to get the COVID testing up and running and the information around that as smooth as possible. In terms of new projects, which we move on to once the website is completed, we're framing the new app and also beginning to look at a new brand launch for the Family Connect service. So that is what we've been up to and where we're headed. Any questions?
Okay, so I have Rich, Anne, Rob Collett.
Hi, Rachel. Thanks for that. I think you and your team do an excellent job. Many times I have answered a query on email or on Facebook or something, and I've been able to copy a link in to either Discover Frome or the Frome Town Council website, which kind of got all the information there. And often as not, I have to look there first before I make a reply. So it's great that that information is there and it's really accurate. I'd just like to kind of urge other councillors to do the same. There's an awful lot of information on there, and I just wonder if we make best use of it sometimes. But you know, it's sterling work. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, thanks a lot for that, Rich. So I have Anne, Rob Collett, and then Andy Palmer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm echoing what Rich has said. Fantastic work, and I suppose I'm just acknowledging the problems of planning events when government regulations seem to be changing on a daily basis. So I'm just wondering how you're managing to do that. Do you have like plan A, plan B, plan C, depending on what we can do or what we're likely to be able to do as we come to Remembrance Sunday and Halloween and Christmas?
So Chris and I work quite closely together on events. I try and put together the frillies and how it might look and how it might feel and what we want people to gain from it and how we're going to communicate that. Chris has to try and keep people safe. So his part is much more tricky than mine to a certain extent. We do work closely with partners, so we keep in really close contact with Mendip and with the police. Anything that we do, we run past them first so that we're not putting a whole lot of work into a whole lot of paperwork and to have it thrown out. We have had a difficult week. We have just had certain elements of certain events scrutinized, and obviously all of the safety advisory group are in a really difficult position at the moment around what can and can't be allowed. So yes, it's very difficult. Yes, we have lots of plans in our heads, but actually the best way to do it is to just keep talking to people, and the hope is that we will find a way to make sure that even if it's not the way we would choose to deliver a remembrance parade or a Christmas light switch on, or anything that we would choose to do, that we can do the best job of what we can do in the circumstances.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So Rob Collett, then Andy Palmer. Rob?
Yes, thank you, Rachel. Great job that you and your team are doing. I just simply wanted to pick up on something that you mentioned in your report, which is the Frome app. Could you just fill in a little bit more what that's going to entail and what it's about?
So this is a project that has been around a little while. We have a wealth of information on Discover Frome, as you know, but actually that sort of visitor information, the thinking is now that that's not the easiest way for people to access information about the town. So that an app is a different way of organizing information, but you can also do interactive things. So for example, you can have walks there that will give you points of interest as you walk around using the GPS. You could use it as you walk through the town. Shops could give you notifications if they've got special offers. That is the sort of technology that an app will give you that a website won't. So that's what we are. We're right at the beginning of that, framing it. We began the conversations. We actually have begun those conversations with the tech shed. We're not quite sure that we're both in this situation to work together, but we really hope we are. And we hope that that will be a sort of community engagement project, so that we end up producing something that's really bottom up. So it's not just me saying this is useful for our town. It will be people who are in our town saying what would be useful is. And so hopefully, unlike there was a iteration before me, I think it might be about 10 years ago now. So there is a free map that is not very interactive, and that isn't updated and isn't used now. I'm not sure it can even fit on our current phones with the iOSs as they are at the moment. But you know, the hope is that very much it will be something that is really needed and useful and will help both visitor and resident experience.
Terrific, great, thank you.
Okay, that's great. So Andy Palmer.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Rachel. I'll try and get to the point as quick as I can, but I kind of need to give you the backstory. So Neil Howlett, myself and Viv attended a meeting with a load of Crewkerne businesses last Thursday. Upshot is they're trying to effectively resume a Chamber of Commerce in the town, because it went out or got wound up probably 10 or 15 years ago. At that meeting, there were Crewkerne businesses and actually a few parish councillors, I believe, as well. We spoke about the things that have gone well with a town council and a chamber working hand in hand together, you know, the successes we've had, some of the things we've got wrong, etc., etc. But one of the key things that came from the parish councillors that were there was how much they absolutely love Discover Froome. They're currently in the process. They've got a very, very basic parish council website. They loved and have been looking at it for a while, the idea of running, you know, your same as us, a town council website with all the regulatory stuff, but then a separate Discover Crewkerne website. And to be fair, they are going to actively model it on what we've got. They also said, I believe, at the meeting that other towns are actually actively looking at Discover Froome as a framework. Some people will call it plagiarism. I think it's a testament, to be honest. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. We do quite often get requests about who designed our website, who designs our Discover Froome and Froome Town Council website, and actually we always pass them on to the web designers who've done them, and and the designers who designed the brand, but also just say, please do take the structure and take the whatever, we're all in it together, we're all in our little towns. There's no reason for for anybody to have to reinvent the wheel. So
okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Rachel. Any other comments? Otherwise, we'll go on to and I would echo what everyone said. Fantastic, and what Rich said. Use it, because I find it's like a bank of information. So the next point on the agenda is the site management plans for Welsh Mill and North Parade. And this is for approval, and Chris is going to tell us about that.
Yeah, thank you, John. So yeah, as we usually do in these meetings, there's a couple of site management plans for all of you to have a look at. Hopefully everyone's had the opportunity to look at the plans. There's probably not a huge amount of change for either of these two spaces, actually. Certainly North Parade has evolved over the last few years into what it is, I think, now, and there's not much that we're proposing to change over there. The one significant point I suppose I'd like to draw councillors' attention to is since the last review of North Parade, a group of local residents has kind of come forward, and we've been working with them and met with them, including Councillor Rich as well, and being able to work with them on the ground and listen to their ideas for the site. And that's what's led to the steps that have been put in up there, and some of those woodland paths being mulched as well. The most important thing, I think, for North Parade is that we continue to work with those residents while they're happy and interested to work with us. and also that we commission a new tree survey. It's obviously one of the more densely wooded areas that we've got in the town centre, so that's a priority we're looking at now. In terms of Welsh Mill, I suppose the point that I'd quite like to draw everyone's attention to is that it's one of our most important and valuable play spaces, and we are looking as a council now at putting together a play strategy which looks across the town, certainly at all the spaces that we look after. It's something that we've done kind of in mind, but we haven't actually written anything down for a few years. So I think there's an opportunity now to look at what we look after, perhaps have a look at what Mendip's looking after, and also think about the developments that are coming to the town and what sort of play opportunities and recreation opportunities we'll want from those. Putting together that play strategy is going to be something that really could inform what happens at Welsh Mill over the next 5 to 10 years, I guess. And alongside the plans, obviously, you've got the site risk assessments for both spaces, a few more for Welsh Mill because it's a slightly bigger site with a bit more to it. But again, what you'll find for both spaces now is that we have added some lines about coronavirus and how that's being managed. I think the key thing is that throughout all this, the government's advice has been that parks and outdoor spaces are actually really important and really valuable. And they've stayed open on that basis. What we are doing, what we, I think, reasonably expect is that people have reasonable expectations of them. We're not intending to nanny people, but there is the hope that people understand and appreciate that they are in outdoor spaces as they go to them. So yeah, very happy to answer any questions about any of it, but nothing probably too drastic in either of those plans actually.
Does anyone have any comments or questions? I see no blue hands. Oh, I do. Okay, so Rob, Steve, and Anne. So Rob Howlett first.
Thank you, John. Chris, yes, I just wanted to come back to North Parade. I really like what you're doing up there. Just in relation to the North Parade allotment, last time I had a chat with somebody up there, they were asking about what plans you had for pruning the trees, which cast quite a lot of shade onto the allotment area. And I'm just wondering whether that is part of your plan for the area.
So interesting. There has just been permission granted. So it's a conservation area up there, and the allotment association, in conjunction with us, put in the application to have some tree works done up there. So that will be something we'll be discussing with them shortly. Some of the tree work that would happen up there we would take. Some of it would probably come from the allotment association, potentially via a tree surgeon. But yes, there will be some work up there based on good practice.
And that was approved at planning group last week as well.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Steve.
Yeah, thanks, John, and thanks, Chris. Chris, on Welsh Mill, the path, a couple of residents have sort of contacted me or collared me and said they love the bat-friendly solar lights. But could they be extended across the road from the little bit of path from Welsh Mill to Lower Inox? I said I'd ask, so I've just asked.
Well, so brilliant. We love that people love the bat-friendly lights. Every time we put them in anywhere, they seem to go down really, really well. What I would say is that that particular stretch of path is looked after by the district council rather than us. That's not me saying no, it's just me saying that there's possibly a discussion, and there might well be an argument that if they were to go in, the district council perhaps ought to contribute towards them. But what we've seen is, because we've put some in on Chateau Gontier Walk as well, actually, we've had loads of requests for them around the entire town. So I think we will collect all of those together. Some of those will be our paths, but I think most actually so far are either the county or Mendip's. So we might get in touch with them and say, look, lots of people would like these. They're not hugely expensive to do, and they obviously don't cost anything going forward, really. So hopefully those are conversations that we can have.
Right.
They're solar.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. And the smell of wild garlic is awesome there as well when it is.
Okay, great. Anne?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I'm particularly interested in, the idea of working with local residents and, instilling that feeling of ownership. And I wonder, is that part of the strategy for all of the spaces that we own? Is that something that we do with all of our green spaces?
I think it can be to a degree. I think so spaces have different feels and obviously different, I suppose, meaning and value to different people. Unquestionably, some of our spaces will be town-wide spaces that people from across the town feel. That might be where reflecting particularly what the residents living nearby might not always reflect what other people might want. So there is going to be a balance, absolutely, but certainly we welcome the conversation. And I think where spaces are, North Parade feels particularly like perhaps a neighbourhood space in the same way that somewhere like New Road does. And what we had with North Parade and New Road was residents just come to us and say, look, there's a group of us, we'd really like to help you do the work on the ground. Can you help us with X, Y, and Z? And those are conversations that have progressed really nicely. And I think for other spaces, it might have to happen in a slightly different fashion. Victoria Park is a very different space to North Parade, but absolutely, if people have got kind of ideas, interests, and they want to get involved on the ground, I'm sure there are ways that we can make that happen.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Particularly, I mean, that's a point relevant to the tree planting at Waylands where things were pulled up and there was discussion around play space. So it's really good to see the listening and it's reflected in the plan. Any other comments, anyone?
Yeah, there's one from Katie Jones on the chat. Which,
oh, sorry, Katie, I didn't see that.
It's asking about
okay,
play spaces on Stonebridge. Chris, can you just explain? I think it's mostly to do with the fact that we don't own land across the Stonebridge area.
The question is, could this also include the existing small play area on Stonebridge? It feels quite tucked away and neglected, is Katie's comment.
Yeah. So it sounds like Katie's comments obviously about the play strategy that we've just talked about a little bit. I think absolutely, Sheila's right. That particular play space is currently looked after by the district council rather than us, as most of the kind of smaller pocket parks are actually. But if we're going to put together a meaningful and valuable play strategy, we want to look at all those things. It just means that we will talk to Mendip about what their plans are for those spaces. Potentially, the smaller play spaces that often came with developments sort of over the last 20 years can perhaps not work quite as well actually as investing in larger play spaces and larger areas like Mary Bailey and like the Showfield. So I think the model might have shifted a little bit, but absolutely we'd want to have a discussion about, okay, what are the plans for these little spaces? If they don't work very well as a play area, could they become something else? And again, that's kind of discussions going back to the community to find out what they'd like to see happen with them. Because play is quite expensive, and if it is a little bit showing its wear and tear, it would be an expensive thing to replace. And rather than just replace it because it's there already, perhaps the question should be, what could we do with this instead? And is that the best way of investing money?
Okay, thanks, Chris. I have Andy Palmer. Your hand is up.
Yeah, thanks, John. Sorry, I was trying to unmute. Yeah, funny enough, Chris, I think that was one that I mentioned to you probably 18 months ago when we first came in, the one on Stonebridge. Speaking very selfishly as a resident as much as a councillor, that's one that I would love to see us take over, because we use it we did use it frequently on our dog walks, and it would be good for, I feel it would be good if we could grab that one.
Okay, I also have a comment from John Clark.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just ask Chris, I know in the past, and maybe continuing to have these discussions, he has been talking to the District Council about some of the land that they own in the town in terms of converting that to sort of green spaces and wildflower spaces. I just wondered how those discussions have sort of progressed really, and what outcomes have already transpired around those green spaces being put over to sort of wildflower areas. I know the District Council talks about rewilding, but it's a totally wrong term. So I'm talking about wildflower and leaving grass to grow, as it were, with 2 cuts a year. It's not rewilding. You need to go outside town and buy some hundreds of acres of that. So yeah, I wanted Chris could answer that, please. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to. So we're in discussion, obviously, with officers over at Mendip, and you're right, John. Parts of the Stonebridge estate have been identified as areas that I think the District Council would like to manage a little bit differently. I think it's probably fair to say that drew certainly some questions from residents living in the Stonebridge estate already. And there were some people who were quite unhappy with the idea. And I think that having seen parts of that estate left to grow long over lockdown for completely different reasons, perhaps, there's certainly going to be some discussion. And I think it's going to be really important that however those areas are managed and managed differently, that there is some discussion with residents that we're quite keen. We'd see it as something that we can assist with, but it's obviously a project that Mendip is looking to lead on.
Yeah, I just remember how great the show field looked with those grasses growing and the path through the swathes. The swathes of green path was amazing. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot for that. So we need to approve this. So I would like to ask someone to propose to approve the plan that's just been presented to us. I'm watching hands. I've got Rob Collett has a proposed, and I've got Anita who has seconded. Okay, and all those in favor, raise your hand, raise your blue hand and raise your hand. Those of you who have voting rights. Everyone else just smile. Go away, John, put your hand down.
We have 10 in favour, which is a majority.
Okay.
And any against?
Okay, great. So everybody put your hands down until you have a question. So next we have Rachel's going to tell us about an update of the town hall. Yeah.
You just need to do.
Oh, yes. I beg your pardon. I've done it. Yes. All those opposed to the site plan. I beg your pardon. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? No. And thank you, Sheila, for reminding the chair.
So hard to do, I know. Believe me.
No. It's just I got too many screens on. It's confusing me. Okay, great. So so we've done that. So now we have an update on what's happening at the town council from Rachel. I believe.
You're on mute.
Yeah, I've moved, so hopefully you should be able to hear me better. I'm not battling against the rain above my head. So yes, the town hall. Things have changed significantly since I last spoke about the town hall in July. We have had a tentative return by the tenants, which has meant we've also had a few skeleton staff to help service the building. That's included our cleaners. Paul's also been working from there, town hall steward, to keep everything ticking over. Cleaning has been a big part of the regime, obviously, insofar as the cleaners have done a deep clean and have made sure that we have a really robust system in place to just keep everybody as COVID safe as we can. We've had to add extra cleaning, obviously, and some of the tenants have asked for extra cleaning. And as and when more staff come back to the building, we will then just add in an extra hour of cleaning in the daytime that we haven't had to have up until now. It's really important for them, a marketing message as we try and tentatively open the town hall as a public building for hire, that the marketing message is that everybody feels absolutely as safe as possible. to that end, as part of our COVID secure responsibilities, we've added a track and trace system where visitors entering the building will send us a text, which will enable us to track and trace them if we need to. It also complies with GDPR. So we are covered as best we can be in those areas. As I said, we are trying to open as a public venue, but as such, we are not open to the public. It's by appointment only. But one of the things that we have had, of course, I'm delighted to let you know about, is weddings. Hooray! So it's great to have really had a good few weddings now, and we have them booked through to next March, I think, and we have new dates that we are in discussions with the registry service now. So that all looks like it's really beginning to take on as best as it can. Obviously, the amount of people that are now allowed to weddings has reduced again down to 15, and obviously there are tighter restrictions, and we're keeping a really close eye on that to make sure that we're entirely compliant and that everything feels COVID safe. So the town hall budget and income looks a little bit better than it did last time we spoke, because we have had some of our regular bookings are coming back. Wild Women hope to be open from next week, and we have other partners such as Dimensions and Plus Positive who have been regular bookings, and they're looking to come back too. So the figures are still, there is still a quite significant deficit, but it's moving in the right direction. Regarding the building, we have had a number of works done. One of those is to introduce hot water stills, which will enable, as and when we get more people into the building, to be more COVID secure. We'll only be allowed one person in the kitchen at a time. So it's very important that we can get everybody who needs to through the kitchens as quickly as possible. We've also had the glass screens for reception. They were finally fixed yesterday, and they not only make everybody feel safe, but they also look really nice and not too scary. So that's good. Of course, we've done lots of extra signage for the building to support all these things. And meanwhile, routine maintenance of painting and has just been going on. So slowly, our town hall is tentatively coming back to life, albeit with a skeleton crew.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions?
Thanks, Rachel. Does anyone have any questions? I'm watching for hands, looking for blue hands. I have Councillor Anne Hill.
Hi, Rachel. It's a bit similar to my other comment about planning events when things are changing all of the time. Now the government have gone back to saying that we should all work from home if we can, rather than go back to work if we can. Does that change our plans for tentatively getting people back into the town hall, our own staff into the town hall from November? Are we still doing that, or have we put that back?
No, that has been put back. We are our town hall to our staff team across the board have been fantastic. I hope you'll all agree. I certainly feel that about my own team. I've done a really amazing job from working from home. Everybody's reliable. Everybody's delivering above and beyond. And so to that end, there are no issues there. So no, that is one of the things that has changed in the last week since we finalised the reports. I believe we've put back the decision now until January, but the thing is very much that we will just have a look then and make a decision then. But from what the Prime Minister was saying yesterday, we may be looking further again. In the meantime, of course, it's also the less staff there are, the easier it is to plan for the fewer staff that are there in order to keep the town hall open for those people who do need to have face-to-face meetings and consultations. So to that end, I would say, it feels safe at the moment, but it is certainly obviously something that we will continually review.
Okay, Anne, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wondered, I know we'd sort of, this might be for Sarah, but I know we've ended our rent holidays, but again, in the light of what the government are now saying, are we considering extending those rent holidays? But bearing that in mind, that's going to increase our deficit, isn't it?
At the moment, we're not considering a further rent holiday, no. The tenants are all occupying their offices and they are well socially distanced, probably more so than Frome Town Council staff would be if we went back, because we have very much open plan offices with quite a few of us in one room.
Thank you.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Rachel. Very complete and thorough. So next on our agenda, we have some minor amendments to the staff handbook and the model staff contract for approval. And that is Sarah. You're going to give us the key points.
Apologies, I need to get there.
Is that right?
Yeah, the report's been distributed and the amendments have been highlighted. I don't think there's anything more to say unless anyone has any questions.
I mean, what is there, can you just, if there was like two things you'd highlight in the main changes, I think a lot of them seem to me to be statutory things.
Yeah.
Really, and if it's just that, that's fine. But is there anything else beyond that?
No, there really isn't. They're all recommendations from a solicitor. We are working on the sabbatical policy since a staff member has recently requested one. We did have a draft ready for councillors to review early next week. And that will be added later.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. So that's clear. So we need to approve those minor amendments. I'm looking for someone to propose to approve. Rich went up first and Mark. Okay, so Rich proposed, Mark seconded, and all those in favor, raise your blue hand.
This is multitasking. This is hard work.
Tell me about it.
So that's actually unanimous in favour. 11. So unanimous.
Okay, great. That's what we like. So everybody put your hand down. Yeah, okay. Fantastic. So now we have two more items on the agenda. And the first is Laura, staff update, starters and leavers.
Yeah, just like Sarah said with her previous report, it's all there, just giving you an update on basically changes to hours, and the biggest news obviously is Anna going on sabbatical.
Okay. I have Rich. Go on, Rich.
It just seems appropriate to say thank you on behalf of all the councillors for all the hard work that Anna Francis has put in over the last however many number of years she's been here. She's certainly made a huge difference. She's brought in a lot of money. She's instigated lots of original ideas. She's going to be sorely missed, but I wish her all the best for where she's going.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Great. And she's coming back in a year.
Hopefully.
Well, let's hope so.
Okay, great. Thanks. I have a hand from Martin.
Thank you, John. I'd just like to add to that thanks to Anna Francis. She's always been very handy for me because she's so knowledgeable. And whenever we've got issues regarding environmental matters at county, you know, I can rely on Anna to provide me with some very good backup. And I'd like to add, if I can, I was going to save this for any other business. It's a quick one. Message to all of you. Somerset have released £1 million to into the county for environmental and conservation projects. You, as a town council, are entitled to apply for up to 75,000 quid to go towards a project. And I just wonder if I could ask John if the council will start to think about what they might wish to do with that money, because I think you stand a very good chance of getting a.
Thank you very much, Martin. Strictly speaking, you should have spoken at the beginning, so I'm just as protocol, but thank you. That's a really useful point of information. And I would say the answer is probably yes, but let's talk about that. Please read that. Thank you. Okay, that's great. So we've approved that with staff update. So we have the final item on our agenda, which is the health and safety update from Chris on outstanding claims, accidents, and risk management activity. And just to start off, I had a look at the chart, the risk assessment analysis, and I tell you, that's complete. Very thorough. So carry on.
So thank you, John. There is, we've just discussed actually, the very last point in the report is actually now out of date because we talked about coming back in early November. As Rachel's already said, we've now postponed that given the change. The only other point to make on the report, I suppose, is that the status of the existing claim where there was an accident along the river path between Waylands and Welshmill has changed slightly. And we have been told that we may be served this month with the potential that we're named as a defendant in that case. That hasn't happened as we sit here tonight, but may happen, in which case it then runs through the legal processes that these things run through.
Okay. And that is about that. Just for point of information, for those of us who are not fully aware, that's someone who got hurt on the path. Yeah. So yes, and there's been various discussions, so yeah, it is still an open case, and it's just changed slightly in that where it was being, we provided everything that we needed to provide to our insurance company. It's changed slightly, and it may end up in court at some point with the possibility that we may be named as a defendant. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Does anyone have any other questions or comments? It's like countdown. Shall I wait for the song to end?
I notice Andy has his hand up.
Oh, Andy, thank you, Andy. I didn't see your hand. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Andy Palmer, go ahead.
Chris, do we have any idea what our financial exposure is on that?
We probably do, and I can't immediately think what it is, to be honest. There will certainly have been a sum that our solicitors were, that our insurance company would have set aside. I can find that out actually. Yeah, no, I'll look into that. I'm sure we do know, but I just don't have that figure to hand, I'm afraid.
Okay, that's fine. So I think you can do that offline anyway. So I would say talk to each other. That's fine. Okay, any other comments? In which case, I think I come to the end of the meeting, and the next meeting of Council Matters is proposed for 7 p.m. on Wednesday, the 4th of November, 2020. The venue is to be confirmed, but let's be realistic. We are going to be right where we are right now, I think. But of course, it'll be confirmed later. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. Well chaired. Thank you, everybody.
And
Thank you, John.
just hasten to point out 92 minutes, okay?